So, 2025 is the year of AI agents. And get this, by 2026 or 2027, AI systems will be better than almost all humans at almost all things. Now, these aren't just random predictions floating around the internet. These are actual direct statements from the CEOs of NVIDIA and Anthropic. If you've been paying literally any attention to the tech world lately, you've definitely felt this massive wave of hype. It seems like everyone is talking about agents that are going to autonomously do our jobs, run our software, and completely change the world.
But wait, let's hit the brakes on that hype train for a second. 90%. That is the stark, staggering reality of enterprise AI agent deployments. They have a 90% failure rate within their very first 30 days. Just think about that. 9 out of 10 highly funded, highly anticipated corporate AI agent rollouts crash and burn in less than a month.
Welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here. Today, our core mission is to cut straight through all that noise. We're going to demystify the actual mechanics of how AI agents work, and more importantly, uncover the hidden economic realities of why so many of them fail and why a select few are spectacularly succeeding.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. The AI agent hype. 2. Agents versus traditional automation. 3. The 5 types of agents. 4. The 90% failure rate. 5. Competing for labor budgets. And 6. The future of agentic AI.
Starting with part 1, the AI agent hype, examining the massive early wins.
So, despite those massive failures we just mentioned, companies are desperately pouring money into the space. I mean, the agent AI sector is experiencing an unbelievable 400% year-over-year growth. Why? Well, because of the wins. McDonald's introduced a voice-activated AI training simulator that actually reduced employee onboarding time by 65%, and they did it without hiring a single new human trainer. Or look at Walmart. They're using this self-healing inventory agent that autonomously detects supply chain surges, redirects products on the fly, and dramatically reduces food spoilage. When it works, it's absolute magic.
Moving on to part 2, agents versus traditional automation, understanding the fundamental shift. To really understand why it's so hard to get this right, we have to define what an agent actually is, especially compared to the automation we've relied on for decades. Think of traditional automation, like your standard Zapier workflows, like a fixed plumbing pipe. You set up a trigger, the data flows neatly from left to right, and a predetermined action happens. It's super reliable, it's entirely linear, and a human defines every single piece of that logic. If A happens, do B. But AI agents? Totally different ballgame. Instead of building a fixed pipe, you just give an AI agent a goal and access to a toolbox. The agent itself has the flexibility to autonomously decide which tools to use and in what order to solve the problem. This creates a completely new way of processing information, often called the react framework. A true agent operates in this continuous loop. First, it perceives its environment, or whatever you prompted it to do. Next, it uses a large reasoning model to actually plan out its approach step by step. Third, it acts using its available tools. Maybe it searches a database or drafts an email. And finally, it observes the results of that action. If it didn't get the right answer, it literally loops back and tries another tool. It's truly autonomous problem solving. Which brings us to part 3, the 5 types of agents, from simple reactions to learning systems. Now, it's crucial to understand that AI agent isn't just a catch-all term. There's a whole spectrum of autonomy here, and not all agents are created equal. We can basically break them down into 5 classifications. Number 1 is the simple reflex agent. It just reacts to predefined rules, kind of like a smart thermostat. Number 2 is model-based. It remembers past states, like a robot vacuum knowing exactly where it's already cleaned in your house. Number 3 is goal-based. It simulates future outcomes to achieve a specific target, like a self-driving car finding a destination. Number 4 is utility-based. It doesn't just find a path, it finds the absolute best path to maximize efficiency or a happiness score. And finally, number 5, the holy grail, the learning agent. This one actually improves its own behavior over time based on feedback from its environment. Right now, most of what we see in businesses are hovering around levels 2 and 3.
So the crucial point is, if this tech is so insanely capable, why are we seeing that massive 90% failure rate? Let's dive into part 4, the 90% failure rate, exposing the iceberg of invisible costs. When companies try to rush an AI agent out the door to save a quick buck, they almost always slam into this hidden technical iceberg. The actual cost of running an agent isn't just some monthly API subscription. Look at how this breaks down.
40% of the burden is pre-deployment data curation, literally just cleaning up messy corporate data so the agent doesn't hallucinate. Another 30% is building the RAG, or Retrieval Augmented Generation knowledge base. Then you've got the token costs. Because an agent reasons in a loop and tries multiple steps, it can easily consume 5 to 20 times more tokens than your standard AI chatbot. Add in the cloud infrastructure for the final 10%, and the expenses just completely skyrocket. $12 million. Remember that huge McDonald's win we talked about earlier? The 65% faster onboarding? Well, what they didn't put in the big, flashy headline was that deploying this agent across 200 locations cost them $12 million. That is $60,000 per location. That's more than a new human hire would earn in 2 whole years. The reality is, the agent didn't instantly reduce costs. It heavily front-loaded them.
Let's look at part 5, competing for labor budgets, the economic paradox of AI agents.
And this brilliantly illustrates the real math here. We're looking at a fundamental shift in how software is bought and sold. For decades, traditional software, stuff like Zoom or Slack, competed for a company's IT budget, which is usually a tiny sliver, like 2% of total corporate spend. You're fighting tooth and nail to charge $20 a month. But AI agents, they don't compete for the IT budget at all. They compete for the labor budget, which makes up 60 to 70% of corporate spending. An AI agent isn't competing with a $20 software subscription. It's competing with a $150,000 human salary. When you look at it through that lens, expensive software suddenly becomes very cheap labor.
A perfect example of this in action is Harvey. It's an AI agent built specifically for law firms, and Harvey charges an eye-watering $1,200 per user per month. It's literally 10 times more expensive than traditional legal software. Yet they hit $100 million in annual recurring revenue with a 400% growth rate. How? Because the law firm isn't comparing that $1,200 to Microsoft Word. They're comparing it to a first-year junior associate who costs $13,000 a month. The 10% of AI deployments that actually succeed aren't trying to be cheap software. They're fully embracing a high-cost, high-touch model to provide incredibly reliable digital labor.
Which leads us to part 6, the future of agentic AI. What to expect in 2026 and beyond. As we speed toward 2026, the technology is evolving way past single chatbots. The first massive leap we're going to see is multi-agent orchestration. We're finally realizing that no single AI model is great at everything. So the future is swarm computing. Imagine a whole team of specialized agents. One acts as a project manager breaking down a goal, another acts as a coder doing the heavy lifting, and a third acts as a critic to verify the work. They all collaborate across a shared fabric, actively cross-checking each other to drastically reduce errors and execute highly complex business tasks.
Next up, we're seeing the rise of inference-time compute on small, local models. Basically, instead of sending your sensitive corporate data out to massive server farms in the cloud, incredibly efficient small language models will run securely right on your local device. But here's the clever trick. They will take extra computational time, maybe several minutes, to really think and reason step by step before they give you an answer. This brings deep, reliable reasoning straight to the edge, completely without sacrificing your privacy. And finally, there's physical AI. This is wild. The intelligence of these agents is literally leaping out of our digital screens and into the real world. We're seeing the rise of what are called world foundation models. These aren't just predicting the next word of text, they're actually predicting how gravity works, how 3D environments behave, and how to physically grasp an object. This is the exact technology that's finally taking commercial robotics and humanoid workers out of the lab experiments and putting them right onto factory floors.
So we're left with this massive critical question. As these technologies mature, every single business is going to face a choice. Will you strategically integrate these tools to completely transform your labor budgets and supercharge your workforce? Or will you jump in blindly, try to treat AI like it's just cheap software, and become a statistic in that 90% failure rate? The technology is here, for sure. But the strategy? Well, that's entirely up to you. I hope this explainer gave you the framework you need to navigate this new agentic era. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I will see you next time.